Hi there, and thank you for tuning in to The Social Circus, where every week we dive into a variety of topics covering social media, mindset, and how to run your business. I hope that you enjoyed today's episode. Good morning, my lovely listeners, and welcome to another episode of The Social Circus. I am your host each and every week, Sarah Thompson from Online Social Butterfly. And today I have a very special guest. I am joined by Jenni Harding, who is the Managing Director and founder of Greatest Good. Welcome, Jenni.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Oh, well, look, my absolute pleasure. And I'm really looking forward to our conversation today. So for all of our listeners, can you tell everyone a little bit about what Greatest Good is and what it actually does?
Yes. Greatest Good is a hub where you can do your greatest good in simple terms. It's a one-stop ecosystem where consumers can come and find organisations that are tackling the social, environmental and community issues they care about. So they can filter down with over 50 different filters and find the organisations tackling. So it might be the environment, refugees, women, Indigenous Australians, etc. Find those organisations and then they can choose how they support them. So shopping, donating, if they're a charity, funding courses and events, paid and volunteer jobs and collaboration. And it's also one stop from the organisation's point of view. So the only organisations we have on our site are charities and not-for-profits, social enterprises, which are similar to charities, but they are less reliant on grants and donations and more on trading revenue, and B Corps, which is a global certification for businesses doing good. So we have a one-stop hub that where both these organisations can do their greatest good and the consumers can do their greatest good. Hence the name, Greatest Good.
I love it. And for all my listeners, we will have the link to Greatest Good in the show notes so that you can go and check it out and be part of doing your greatest good, which I love. So Jenni, I met you through a group that we belong to called She Mentors, and I was so inspired by what it is that you do. So being the founder of this organisation, can you tell us, how did you get into this and what inspired you to start your business?
Yeah, it's a bit of a long story, but yeah, my background is actually working in the investment industry, which I've done for more than 30 years. And I've also spent more than 30 years volunteering and doing pro bono, low bono work. I have also studied part-time for more than 20 years. So having done a business degree and an MBA, I was going into businesses as a consultant and finding that I was changing processes and I really needed to change people. So I ended up going and studying a Master of Applied Positive Psychology, which is the science of optimal human flourishing and what makes individuals, teams, organisations, communities, countries, in the case of Bhutan, flourish and thrive. And my final research project was what do organisations need to do in the future to engage millennials and the alpha generation behind them. And this was back in 2017. And the research showed that not only do people come to work for their own reasons and want to be engaged and aligned with the values of that organisation, which we're definitely seeing post-COVID, but they also want to shop with, donate to, volunteer with, and generally support organisations that are aligned with their values. And again, I think in the post-COVID world, everyone is more aligned with living their values and not having that work persona and their outside of work persona and sort of literally doing that in their day-to-day activities, whether that's within work, as well as just how they live their life. And so, and obviously you see a lot of people doing stuff in the environment and that type of thing. So yeah, when it started out as a directory that was going to be purely for social enterprises, we did the whole ecosystems being co-designed and we ended up talking to a number of different charities and social enterprises and B Corps and a whole range of different consumers and service providers to the sector. And it kind of expanded from just being social enterprise to including the charities and not-for-profits, including the B Corps. And then the feedback we got from consumers was we also want to support these organisations by shopping and donating. So the whole idea is to really change people's behaviour, not buy the cheap and nasty foreign stuff from the likes of Temu and that type of thing. Go and support the organisations that are doing good aligned with your values.
And I love that because I think that we we really want to shop more consciously. And I think we appreciate, living in places like Australia, our incredible privilege that we have, that
Yep.
we have things like fair work and we have minimum wages and all of these things that we take for granted when we look at, like you say, websites like Temu and Shine, or however you say that silly name. They are the antithesis of that, and they create cheap products through cheap labor and exploiting cheap materials in developing worlds, and that's like the exact opposite of everything that you want to achieve. So I feel like you've hit a soft spot for all of us in that we want to shop more consciously. And I say this to my husband quite regularly, like if we're out at the mall, if we walk past like Target or Kmart, I look at them and I often make the comment and say, are they any better than buying from Temu? Because I'm not sure that they are, because they still buy cheap rubbish products from overseas at a really low price and don't tell us what kind of labor and things they use. So I think all of us are aware of that, but we don't then know, well, how do I shop more consciously? And I know many of us, and particularly myself and a lot of people in my network, we shop with the small business owners that we know. So the beautiful women that maybe create their own products or are creating products that they know what their supply chain looks like. And so they have created in an ethical and sustainable way. So we're always looking for those, but it's quite hard to shop like that because you have to actually then go and meet someone and go, oh, she's got an amazing business that does this.
Yep.
But what you've done is made that really easy for us. So did you do some research when you were setting up Greatest Good to say, what are people looking for when they're shopping? Like, are we looking for sustainability? Are we looking for ethics in trade? Did you, because you obviously, you said at the beginning, we can filter our searches on your website by what it is that we're looking to do. So can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we decided rather than just having the shopping, and again, there's so many different ways to support these organisations and shopping is just one of them. So in the current economic climate, it might be that you want to support these organisations and you can't. And so financially you don't have the money, but you can volunteer your time. And so we've literally given everyone their own impact journey so they can choose those values. So literally those values, again, were co-designed, and it's not about what the organisation does. So it's not about, if you think of Who Gives a Crap, which is one of Australia's largest social enterprises, it's not about the fact that they make toilet paper. And yes, you can go and shop for that toilet paper, but it's more about what impact they're having. So they're actually using 50% of their profits to actually build sanitation in lesser developed countries and things along those lines, put in plumbing and a lot of those type of things. So it's about the impact that they're actually creating. So you come to the site and filter, you can find refugees, women, Indigenous Australians, a whole range of different things in there. So you can actually go through and some of them you may not even be aware of. So you can search by the type of organisation, by these impact filters. And my background is actually doing due diligence on investment managers. So we do a due diligence on the organisations that come onto our site to make sure who they say they are and they're doing the things they are, because we don't want to have any sort of, a lot of people will have heard of greenwashing. We just call it impact washing, because there's blue washing, there's brown washing, there's black wash. There's a whole range of things. So we do that due diligence so that when we call them impactful individuals or conscious consumers, whatever you want to call them, but when they come to our site, they know that they can trust the organisations they find on them because we've done all of that work for them.
So amazing.
Yeah.
I love hearing that because that gives us so much. And I feel a bit like you, like when I walk into Target and they say we're using organic cotton, I'm like, at what cost? Like, so you have that sense of I don't feel it. So if we go to Greatest Good and we see the not-for-profit or the social enterprise or whatever on there, we can be really confident you have done all the background work for us in terms of due diligence, which is amazing. So you're really bringing all of your big range of skills that you have in your past life and career to Greatest Good, which I think is amazing. So for us as consumers, what can we do in terms of our support? You talked about the different ways in which we can support. So obviously we can support with our dollar, but there are other ways we can go through Greatest Good to lend our support and be conscious consumers.
Yep. So we have shopping, we have donating, we have a whole range of courses and events. And so some of those are targeting individuals and some organisations, because you may be an organisation for working for one of these for-purpose businesses, but also interested individually. So you can we call it find your tribe. So we have a range of what we think is a curated list of the best physical and online networking events and things that you can go to. So we also run a whole range of education events ourselves. So you can actually go and find those different events. We have paid and volunteer jobs. At the moment, they're just from our members. And so sometimes there's a lot, sometimes not so much, the nature of these organisations. And again, across Australia, and it is an Australia-wide site. And then we also have collaboration opportunities. So that's where people can ask for help or offer assistance. But we also have a range of reports, videos, things for individuals, things for businesses that are just free resources that they can access as well. And some of it is just learning and education. And we run our own education events. We've got been running a lot in terms of marketing and business development, because that's what a lot of some of these smaller organisations do. We're not looking to attract the Red Crosses of the world. We're really trying to find those small and medium businesses, but particularly I'm in Melbourne. During lockdown and you had a 5K radius, you suddenly discovered that you had some of these organisations in your 5K radius that you probably walk past every day on the way to the station or the bus or the train or whatever, but you didn't take any notice of them, and all of a sudden you realise they were in your environment. And so we're trying to get those small to medium ones that perhaps no one's actually ever heard of, or that are only in one state or only in one suburb, and actually highlight those as well, so that you have a variety of organisations to choose from.
I love that, because it is hard. And obviously I'm over in Perth and Jenni's in Melbourne. We actually have never met in real life. It is hard when we live in a digital space to actually step out of your home and find yourself connected to a local community. It's really easy for many of us to, like where I live, I have walking distance to my house a train, which means lots of people commute into the city. And so it creates a different kind of environment. So I love the fact that I can actually find things close to me that I can go out, connect with and support, because that's a really unique service. I love all this. So in terms of sorry, carry on.
So yeah, when you actually do that filtering and you get the organisations that are tackling the things that you care about, you can actually look at them in a list, or you can go to the map view. So yeah, you can actually, we're very much at the moment East Coast dominated, as often is the case in a lot of people are. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, we pretty much will have a range of organisations. We've just got our first Northern Territory organisation on there, and that's an Indigenous organisation, so supporting Indigenous businesses. So yeah, we have a range of different organisations on there, and hopefully there's something for anyone. But yeah, if anyone knows of anyone else, more than happy to refer them to us. And yeah, we have regular show and tells where people can actually come and see the front end and the back end of the site and understand what it is we're actually trying to do.
Amazing. Oh, that's so good. And in terms of because this is your baby, isn't it, Greatest Good, that you started and you're the founder and the director of, what's your vision for the future? Like, how would you like to see it grow and evolve? Like, what would be your dream?
The big, hairy, audacious goal is ultimately that we become the one-stop hub for all things for purpose. So you don't go to white pages, you don't go to eBay, Temu, all of those type of sites. You don't go to Seek and Eventbrite to find jobs and events. That you literally come here and it's a one-stop hub, so you can do everything to live your values on our site. So yeah, the whole goal is, wouldn't it be fantastic if we were as big as Amazon and we had all these other things as well? That's, don't know how we'll get there, but yeah, let's just, you've got to start somewhere.
Oh, and we have to dream big with when we're trying to change the world. All of it starts with one person using the site, and it grows out from there and has ripples. So from your perspective, I love that future vision. I know that starting this has been a labour of love, and getting yourself up and running, getting the website up and running, getting all those offerings and those adaptations, and like you say, that co-creation on your website and things. I love hearing people's journeys on that. So when you started your business, did it start like this? Did you think, it's just going to be, you said it started as a directory concept and it's evolved. So tell us about that evolution, and how did that feel to you? Because sometimes our babies do things we don't want them to do.
Yes. So in 2017, 16, 17, when I was studying my post-psych masters, I was asked to co-chair an advisory board of a New Zealand startup social enterprise, which is where I really first heard about social enterprises in the first place.
Yes.
And the main characteristics of a social enterprise is that they trade for a social or environmental community process, and the majority of their income comes from their trading activities, not from grants and donations. So just to clarify how that kind of differs slightly to what people know of charities in Australia. But so I decided, because I loved the whole concept of social enterprise, very much aligned with my own values. I thought, I'm actually just going to set up a directory in Australia and find these organisations and have them on there. But in Australia, a social enterprise isn't a legal entity, which it is in New Zealand, and you can have for-profit and not-for-profit social enterprises. And then it was sort of like, if I'm going to do that and I'm actually going to have both for-profit and not-for-profit, why wouldn't I have all the other community groups, co-ops, charities, not-for-profits that, people know? And if I'm going to have for-profit social enterprise, why wouldn't I also have B Corps, which are, again, businesses that are a force for good and literally using their business. So the way that we kind of just describe it is organisations who put purpose ahead of or equal to profit. So you're not actually doing going out and trying to rip people off and make as much money as you can. You're actually thinking about your broader stakeholders and that sort of group. And that's very much behind, we are B Corp certified. We went through that process, which was a very long and time-consuming process. And we're also a certified social enterprise. So we give a minimum of 50% of our profits back into achieving our social purpose ourselves. So what we're doing aligns with the organisations and also the consumers, because it's very much about, living your values, doing those type of things. I went looking and still keep looking for social enterprises. They're really hard to find. I'm Jane. There's over 600,000 charities and not-for-profits, and you can see.
So is that in Australia?
Yeah. I know. Yep. And there's 60,000 of those are actually charities that are registered. And so you can go to the ACNC, Australian Charities and Not-for-Profits Corp website, and find those. But you can't search and filter in any great way, nor can you find the other 540,000 that are there. And then in terms of social enterprises, depending on who you talk to, and again, there's no major database, which is what we want to be, there's somewhere between 12 and 40,000 social enterprises. And a lot of the conversations we have with organisations are, they don't even know what a social enterprise is, but they're running a business for good. And we spend a bit of time educating them and going, you're actually a social enterprise. What you're doing aligns with that. And then B Corps globally, there's more than 9,000, and there's around 1,000 in Australia. I think there's about 750 or so that have their headquarters in Australia. So some of the ones that people know will obviously be Who Gives a Crap, which is both a BS social enterprise, Patagonia. There's so many.
That's all right. I won't put you on the spot. I think we all know Who Gives a Crap. And I sincerely hope during COVID they absolutely had a boom because of the ridiculous toilet paper crisis. Because I've been using Who Gives a Crap for years, and I love it. And I have my auto ship delivery on tissues, kitchen towel, and my toilet paper. And I often thought, why are people not using the service? It's so good. Like, it's so convenient. And I love the fact that it's as well as being that social enterprise, they don't use trees. They use you can choose bamboo, which to me feels way more sustainable. So I love them, and I think they've really paved the way to make us understand the importance of social enterprises beyond what we think is charitable. I think they've done a really great job of that.
And it's similar. So, like, could give you an example, Bendigo Bank. So most people, again, on the East Coast, know Bendigo Bank. It started as a regional bank.
There's quite a few here in WA as well.
It's the 5th largest retail bank in Australia. So it's kind of the big four. When we had the global financial crisis, they kind of weathered that reasonably well. We then had the review into the financial services sector, and they were the one that sort of came out about the big four were, charging people advice. They weren't giving those type of things. Bendigo Bank came out of that quite cleanly. They're also listed on the stock exchange like a lot of the other big banks and corporations, but 50% of their branches are actually community banks, and they operate within that community, and 100% of their profits go back into that community. So it's why you see it, you go to football and all that type of thing, you'll see those sponsorship signs saying that they're supported. And there's lots of other banks, Beyond Bank and others that are B Corps that are doing those things. Bank Australia doing those sort of things as well. So again, it's, they have 50% of their business that's, making money for shareholders, but then 50% of their branches are these community banks and actually giving back to the community in which they operate. And that's, that's just amazing to do, because it means that you want to bank with them, you want to support them, because you know that the money is actually coming back into your community. So, and particularly when, banks in particular, where a lot of regional places that all of those major 4 banks have shut down, you'll often find Bendigo Bank or some other community bank in those areas that are giving back to their communities. So
yeah,
you support them and they support you, and that's
amazing. Thank you for explaining that, because I know of Bendigo Bank, but I haven't really understood why it was so different to other banks. It's really good to hear that. So in terms of the listeners here, because I really want us to kind of be able to take some action beyond obviously using Greatest Good as our portal. How can we be shopping more consciously and behaving in a more conscious and considered way?
I think it's a lot of it is just doing due diligence and thinking about it. And we were having this conversation a couple of weeks ago. At the moment, you can't do any sort of internet search without Temu coming up the top of every single thing that you do. So you have to wonder about the billions that they're actually spending on advertising and promotion to get your data. And that's ultimately what they're doing. It's not necessarily about all the plastic crap that they're selling. So that comes into it. But it's that whole, if you're constantly, from a psychological point of view, constantly inundated with all of these type of things, and then you hear other people talking about, oh, I've bought this amazing thing from Temu, it was so cheap, and you start to get that FOMO, fear of missing out. And so despite the fact that you're very much values aligned and you want to live your values, and it's same with the Black Friday sales and the Boxing Day sales, all those type of things, all of a sudden those values go out the window because everyone wants a bargain. And it's really hard to do. So I think it's just, having been conscious, do I really need it? Is it something I actually need to have in the first place? Because again, some of those fashion sites that you were talking about earlier, they, manufacture a lot of stuff which is ultimately made of plastic. If you think of a lot of those polyester, all that polyester clothing, you can buy a whole box of stuff and everything's $1, but you only want one, but it's all $1. So you end up buying one in every color and then just chuck it out. And all that stuff ends in landfill. And people know all of that and they're really aware of the environmental impact, but then they kind of get into that, the whole gamification of those shopping sites. And
oh my gosh, yeah, terrifying.
It's really hard.
I actually bought something off Temu the other day, which is the first time I've ever shopped on it, because my son specifically wanted something from there and it was plastic crap anyway, let's be honest. So wherever I bought it was not. And I couldn't buy one thing off there. So you have to spend a minimum of $40 to get a delivery.
Oh.
And I was like, but I don't want to. I don't actually want to. I just want this one thing on there. And so you're then, for like, it's that gamification, you're forced to spend $40. That's the minimum order size. And on a site like that, it's like 8 things. So you have 8 plastic pieces of crap coming to your home instead of one.
Yeah.
So it is really hard on those sites. They're very clever. The psychology of marketing and sales is stellar. They would make great research papers for a university student, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think just asking yourself, do I really need it? Is it a wanted or is it a need? And can I use that money in other ways, or can I be doing things that, again, it's that instant gratification. I was trying to explain, I've got young nieces, I was trying to explain to them the concept of lay-by. And it's kind of like, what do you mean you put something on hold and you don't actually get it until you've paid it off? And that was just such a weird concept for them. Because it's even with the buy now, pay later sort of things, which I have an issue with as well. Unfortunately,
absolutely.
ASIC is stepping in to regulate those organisations a lot more, because they're essentially offering people that potentially shouldn't be offered lines of credit.
Yeah.
But it's that whole saving enough, literally saving enough money to then go out and do it. And it's what you did as, a kid in terms of saving your pocket money, and you had something in mind and you saved it up. But now you can actually just go out and buy things. So I think questioning why you want to do it. And if you're trying to I know in my sort of teenage 20 years, buying a lot of things just to kind of make you feel fulfilled, but there's other ways to be fulfilled that are more sustainable and are aligned with your values. And so it's questioning whether you actually want and need that. And are there better ways to do it? Are there organisations that you can support locally, or are there organisations that are doing their greatest good that you can actually help as well? And that's a win-win. It's a win-win-win because it not only helps you, we have this sort of tagline of shop good, do good, feel good. Shop good, donate good, do good, feel good. That type of thing. And so it's about, you feel good because you've done it, you've helped an organisation, but then the ripple effect of what the organisation does as a result of that and going back into their community and doing the things that they're doing sort of flow from there as well. So,
oh, I love all that. Thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you for encouraging us to consume more consciously and maybe consume a little bit less as well. I love all those concepts. So, Jenni, thank you so much for your time today and for coming onto my podcast. To all of my listeners, please look up Greatest Good. Go to the website, go and use it, support it, find events, donate your time, or use your dollar to buy through there, because this is something that we can all do that's going to make a change to the way in which we consume. And it will change, every dollar we spend, like you say, it has an impact beyond the thing that we get for it. And it's so good to think that we're actually doing, like I say, doing good. So if all of my listeners, the link is in the show notes, but if you just Google Greatest Good, the website will come up, so you're all good. But Jenni, thank you for your time today. Thank you for sharing your business journey and your passion and inspiration. I know that listening to you makes me feel inspired every time we talk and have spoken. So thank you for coming on my show. So it's been a pleasure having you as my guest.
Oh, thank you so much for the opportunity. Yeah, and just let's all just keep doing our greatest good, however we choose to do that.
Oh, yes, let's. So to all my lovely listeners, thank you for tuning into The Social Circus, and I will catch you the same time next week. Thanks so much for tuning in to The Social Circus. As your host, Sarah Thompson, I am thrilled that you've chosen to spend your time hanging out with me. I would be so grateful if you could spare an extra moment to go and leave me a review on your favourite podcasting platform. And if you even felt more excited, you could share my podcast with your friends who you think would get great value from it. Thanks so much again for tuning in.